Hi everybody, I'm Amy Evans for NA Lit Chat, and I'm here today with LG Kelso, who's going to be joining us tonight, September 4th, on our broadcast at 9 p.m. Eastern. Hey LG, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, Amy.
I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight. I know you have a new book out, and we are going to be talking all about some key points in your book regarding gender and stereotypes. But what can you tell us about your book first? What's it called? What's it about? How did you run into these discussion points while you were writing it and publishing it?
Okay, the book is called Fierce. It's a new adult novel, sports romance. It's about a female MMA fighter who left the world of MMA after she had an accident with her sparring partner at the time, her trusted sparring partner. And then she ends up kind of getting in hot water, loses her job, needs to make tuition and bills. So she ends up going back to her old gym. Um, and as hard as she kind of tries to stay out of MMA and all that, she kind of gets dragged back into it by some of the other fighters. One is Max. He's one of the key characters who's a Colombian pro fighter. And then her old training partner ends up coming back again. And so she kind of has a whole bunch of stuff to deal with.
Well, that sounds cool. Now, we're going to be talking about gender and stereotypes in new adult novels tonight. What did you come up against? Because I hear MMA fighter, and definitely there are some things that come into my head that probably are not true about, they can't be true about everyone who fights, but they're probably not true about many people who fight. I imagine that's what people look for in books, though. Typical, sometimes.
Yeah, there were, a couple different things. A lot came up regarding gender, having a female fighter. When I was kind of deciding what way to go, um, there was an opportunity for kind of a traditional line, but it involved a lot of revising the female character to make more, ideally appeasing, um, softer, not so angry, not so reactive. For me, these are all things that are central to the character, her faults, and as you said, she's in an MMA world, so you have to be a pretty tough female to survive in that world. And then there's also, other things that you mentioned too. That's great with, guys. Everyone expects male fighters to have kind of a very certain character, certain personality, and so there was some of that too, as because you know, trying to be dimensional. Um, and there was a little bit pushback on how the genders worked and that they're not necessarily the stereotypical guy traits and girl traits.
Well, that makes me happy. I think that sounds a lot more interesting and I love sports stories, and that still sounds, a lot more interesting to read than the typical roles that we see sort of repeated over and over again in sports tropes. But I'm curious as to how you found this being unique to New Adult. I mean, New Adult is known for throwing out, it's known for some stereotypical gender roles, but it's also known for throwing out a lot of rules. So where do you think that helped you or distracted you from your characters, if it did?
I think for the most part it went hand in hand in it. It's the characters are all college age. Some are in college, some aren't. Some are trying their other career dreams. And so it really tied together. It drove really the character to go back to the gym, as far as being on your own, trying to support yourself. You have tuition, you need food. So all that played centrally to the story, but on kind of a deeper theme would be just the characterization of having to deal with the consequences of your actions, really being independent without a safety net, for the first time in our lives. And I feel like that really comes into play mentally, physically, in many roles in the book. And having that kind of, new adult is about learning who you want to be overall, I think, really. And in Fierce, it kind of plays with the idea that sometimes that's different. Sometimes we make changes from who we were, when we were teenagers. But sometimes we actually can't get away from that. And sometimes we're not supposed to. You know, there are things that are still going to be with us. I see a lot of new adult where it's people running away from their past or trying to move on. And of course, that plays a role too. So I kind of liked this concept of that's not necessarily possible, and it shouldn't always be. You know, for the best, it may not be what needs to work out either.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to talk to you more about all of this tonight. We'll be live on the air on Twitter and YouTube at 9 p.m. with the hashtag NA Lit Chat. So I'm looking forward to talking to you then. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye, LG.
See you later.